What is up, everybody? It's the Raw Prospect Podcast. We're back with another episode. We got a special guest on for episode 48 here. Today is October 23rd, Friday, October 23rd. And holy crap, we got a good show planned. We got my good friend Hemanth Madduri on the podcast, coming from UTD in Dallas, Texas. Uh, I'm still here in Bethany. He's still on campus at UT. So, well, yeah, you see that we're on Zoom. So, um, let's just get into it, okay? Yeah, I'm, I'm already rambling off topic. Today we got NBA draft stuff planned. We've got a historic draft planned as well. And we're gonna do a guess who game at the end. I have picked some players for them to guess who they are, and hopefully they can figure it out. I don't think they're that hard, but some of them are from the 2000s. A couple of them are current, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, let's get into it. Let's start with the NBA draft. In the lottery, Minnesota picked up the number one pick. We'll start with you, Michael. What do you think Minnesota should do with the number one pick, or should they not draft? Should they trade back and get more assets?
Well, I think the ideal situation for Minnesota as of right now, since there's no clear-cut number one guy in this number one prospect in this draft like in years past, um, I think the best situation for Minnesota would try to be to trade down and potentially maybe get either um, a player that can help them now, a solid veteran, or someone that can help them now. But if you're asking me um, to guess what I think they're going to do, I think they're going to end up making this pick. And I think you've got to go, even though it's not the best fit, I don't think any of these players really fit what Minnesota wants to do, which is why I suggested the trade in the first place. But I've heard a lot of rumors. They really like LaMelo Ball. They really like his upside. Um, he's a excellent passer. I watched his tape today. Excellent passer, excellent playmaker. He can score the ball. He has that ability, but he needs to improve his scoring efficiency. Um, he has, I would say, the most upside of any player in this draft, which is why you take him number one. And probably down the road has the most trade value if he can continue to develop. Now, doesn't play defense. Defense is like doesn't exist in his mind. But I think if you're gonna make the pick, you go with the player with the highest upside. That's LaMelo Ball. If you don't want to make the pick, you try and trade down and either get established veteran that can help you win now, or trade down to a spot where you think you can get a prospect maybe in like the mid rounds and acquire some more assets that you still like. That's
Right.
my
The interesting thing here is they already have D'Angelo Russell at the point guard position.
right.
So you throw LaMelo Ball in there. You possibly move D'Lo to the two, or you just have them. They're just playing combo guard, and they're just basically switching off the ball handling duties. I think I could see that working out. The the concerns would be defensively, as you mentioned. The LaMelo Ball has a long history of ignoring the defensive side of the ball all the way back to high school.
Doesn't
So,
exist in his mind. So,
but in terms of the trade market, uh, there doesn't seem like there is that many trade suitors that are willing to move up to number one in this draft, because I think the overall consensus is the best player in this draft may not be in the top 5 or the top 10. It could be mid to late rounds. One of these guys that wasn't able to prove themselves all the way in NCAA, and has improved their game substantially over the course of this huge hiatus over this summer. So it's a really weird draft because I think a lot of these prospects are relatively unproven. But I'm going to shift to you, Hemanth. What do you think Minnesota should do?
I mean, I agree with you on the point that like this draft isn't as loaded as the previous draft. Right? There's no clear cut number one pick. This draft kind of reminds me of like the 2013 draft. Is that where Giannis got drafted? Is that one?
Yes, 2013.
Yeah, I feel like this is that type of draft where you won't see too many like big players, but you'll see one major player that'll come out of this draft. And coming to the Timberwolves, I feel like they're really either going between Edwards or LaMelo Ball. And personally, I feel like Edwards would be a better fit for him. So like I feel like if they kept D'Lo at point guard and they moved Anthony Edwards to shooting guard, but that'd be a good position for them because what they're lacking is defense, as you two have mentioned, and I feel like Anthony Edwards could fill that role, that defensive role. Right. They have a great team built around Cat and D'Lo so far. So with Edwards, I think like he could be that 3-and-D guy, but also improve as a playmaker as well. So that's what I think.
When you look at this starting lineup for Minnesota, D'Lo at the 1, Malik Beasley at the 2, their recent trade acquisition over the season from the Nuggets. Josh Okogie, the guy they drafted a couple years ago, good defender, needs to improve his shooting ability, but has upside. At the 4, you have Juan Hernangomez. That's a spot where maybe you could fill somebody in. And then obviously you have Cat, one of the best centers in the league, arguably the best center in the league, depending on who you ask. So I see a big hole at the 4 spot. You also have a guy in Jarrett Culver who you still don't know what you're going to get out of him. He had a disappointing season in his rookie year, but we've seen a lot of guys turn it around after disappointing rookie campaigns. So I wouldn't give on him quite just yet. So if you add another guard to this lineup, I think this team might be too guard heavy. I think the best scenario might be making a trade with, say, Chicago at number 4 and drafting a guy like Obi Toppin and pairing him with pairing him with Karl Anthony Towns in the front court.
So how about we move on to Golden State?
Right.
They're picking 2. So I guess I can go first. We'll just keep it going that way. For me, I can see Golden State going a lot of different ways. I think they will be looking to trade this pick, but I put together my mock draft with no trades because I didn't want to get too complicated and waste a lot of time with that. So I'm assuming they will make the pick, and for me, the best fit for them is James Wiseman. They really need an upgrade in that front court. In the few games he played at Memphis, because we know what happened with that situation, but the few games he played at Memphis, which I did watch because, as Imy knows, I'm a huge college basketball guy, he flashed massive two-way potential. And I think they could use someone like that in Golden State, a big body who can score at the rim and just run pick and rolls, rim run, block shots, and run pick and rolls with Steph Curry and all the guys they have coming back next year. I think that's personally where I would go with Golden State. I don't see a need for Anthony Edwards at all on this team. I guess you can maybe think about the kid from Israel if you really want to go. I heard they worked him out, Dingy. I can't pronounce his last name.
Or a DJ?
I heard they worked him out, and they absolutely came away. They were very, very impressed from what I've been hearing with him. But they were also impressed with Wiseman. I think it really could probably come down to those two guys here at the number 2 spot.
Right. I mean, I feel like
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I feel like with Draymond kind of aging, I mean, he's a defensive presence, but he might not be as great of a defensive presence as before. And I feel like I agree with Michael. If they were to keep the pick, Wiseman would be a great choice for him because I feel like he could fill that need for defensive presence. In their championship runs before, defense was a big part of that, with Bogut being the interior defender and then Draymond. So like adding James Wiseman would be something that would be a great fit for him. And see like so, and then Clay and Steph are returning next season. So you pair that up with Wiseman, that'll be awesome for their whole team. And it's also interesting because like James Wiseman, he didn't play. He played like 4 games, I think, right, with Memphis before that incident. So, and he's been training on his own. So it'll be cool to see how much of a different player he is from college coming into the draft.
I actually have them going a slightly different direction. I think drafting Wiseman to just rim run and rebound and play defense might not be the best situation for him, and that might be too little to ask of a number 2 pick. So if you're looking for a guy that's just going to rim run and rebound and run pick and rolls, I think they could either find that guy in free agency, or they could trade down and get a guy like Onyeka Okongwu, who is also a center, a guy of that someone of that nature who has a similar skill set. I think Anthony, if they were to draft Anthony Edwards, I think Edwards could play some 3. He's 6'5", he's 230 pounds, and he already has the NBA body and the strength to be able to guard some threes. I think that versatility might help them. And also, since they have Wiggins, I think Wiggins' best role would be as a 6-man. So if you draft Edwards, you can bump Wiggins down to 6-man, and maybe he can be your spark plug off the bench, like Iguodala was for those years.
Well, you make some really good points that I personally didn't think about before. But going back to Wiseman, I think when I was referring to what you're drafting him to do, I'm referring to the short term. Obviously, we didn't see a whole lot of him in college, as we've been saying. So it's going to take some time, as we know, for a guy like him to develop his offensive game. But in the short term, you can go ahead and plug him in as a talented, very athletic, big guy in that center position, however you want to put him in there. He has elite measurables. He can rebound for you. He can rim run, finish at the rim. He's got some resemblance of a competent post game that I'm sure he's going to continue to improve on. Hopefully, he can unlock his full potential by continuing to work on that 3-point shot, which we saw a little bit of at Memphis. I like your point about Edwards. I think that could also be a great idea, but I'm not as high on Edwards for a couple reasons, which I'll get to at the next pick. I think at Georgia, scouts say he's sometimes a little lackadaisical, not the best decision maker. And obviously these are things that can be improved upon, but when it's just an effort thing with Edwards. And I think with a team that's trying to win now, like the Warriors are, you want a guy who you don't have to worry about that with. And but it can go either way. It can go, honestly, this draft can go a ton of different ways.
Right. You saying that, it kind of reminds me of what people were saying about Wiggins coming out of Kansas. A little bit like questioning how much he loves the game, how much is he willing to put in the work to improve. So that will be an interesting narrative throughout his career, whether those draft profiles are correct. So, is there anything else you wanted to add with Golden State?
Well, I see like if the Warriors were to draft James Wiseman, I feel like it's a similar situation to the Nuggets drafting Michael Porter Jr. Because like with Michael Porter, I mean, not like they're. I'm not saying that they're the same player. Just it's a similar situation where Michael Porter Jr. is like he's a great talent, but he's being underused, right? And I feel like that's kind of like short term, like Michael said, it's a short term thing with Wiseman where he'll provide the winning he'll provide a winning like culture, add that winning culture to the Warriors. And I mean, if the Warriors could keep that core for like the next 3 years with Curry, Thompson, and Draymond for the next 3 years, then Wiseman can take the reins as a budding franchise player for the Warriors.
Right.
Yeah, the bottom line with Wiseman is just his ability to unlock his perimeter game, whether or not he can be a stretch big and not just a rim running big. But that's something we're going to find out 3 to 4 years down the road.
Right.
But with that, we can move on to Charlotte.
Okay. Yep. Charlotte gets the third pick in the draft. They moved up a little bit. And they had a breakout star, Devontae Graham, last year. They're looking to add pretty much – I think there is not a single player on this team that's untouchable at this point in time, other than maybe Miles Bridges and P.J. Washington. But this team is completely reloading. They are rebuilding. They just need – literally the best player available. That just draft the best player available, most upside, whatever it may be, whatever position. I think you have to not go team need and just pick the best player available because
I totally
help you the most.
I totally agree. For the Hornets, it's best player available. Now, I had LaMelo going 1 and Wiseman going 2, but it can go a lot of ways. So they could have Wiseman here at number 3, or they could have Edwards, or Ball even if they want to go that route. Here I have him going with Edwards. I think you pair him with Devontae Graham in that backcourt, make it a nice 1-2 punch. Edwards is very talented. He's a guy who can create his space, create his own shot at any time from any place on the floor and knock down shots. It's just a matter of, does he always, like I said earlier, is he going to give you 100% effort at all times? And can he improve upon his on-ball defense? That's the thing with Edwards. But like Imy said, I totally agree. It's best player available. Whoever that is in that front office, that's who they should go with.
Right. Well, they've had the last time they made the playoffs was like 2014, I believe, right? When they faced the 2013-2014 season when they faced the Heat. They got swept in the first round. I think that's what it was.
No, I think it was
or 15, 16.
2016, right? It was 2016, I believe, because it was the year the Heat went to the second round and lost to the Raptors. And that was actually a 7-game series.
I just think they need to – I mean, they just need to pick the best available player and just kind of bring a winning culture to the team because for the past, decade, they haven't really done too much in the playoffs. They've either made the playoffs and then have been bounced out in the first round, or they haven't made the playoffs at all and been going for lottery picks. So,
right,
I agree.
This team has been stuck in mediocrity for so long, and a lot of that is Michael Jordan. A lot of that can be put on Michael Jordan. Obviously, as we know, he has a will to win. And I mean, that's great. I mean, that's a good thing. But when you're running an organization, sometimes you need to plan for the future instead of thinking now, and just playing for that.
Right. I just don't think that they have the players that that they need to like win as of right now. They need to upgrade, and this draft could be a great opportunity for them.
Right. I think James Wiseman would be a really good fit here. I think the wings position, I'd be hesitant. I'd be a little more hesitant only because they already have PJ Washington, Miles Bridges, and you want to see what they can do because they're getting closer to their contract years, and you want to see what they've got. And I still think they have potential, especially Washington. So definitely Edwards, Ball, or Wiseman, if they're available. You got to just pick one of them up and just give them some type of structure, some type of training staff, whoever you got to hire to do it. Just develop the heck out of them. Just, yeah. And be patient as well.
Okay, so with that, let's go to the Bulls. I'll start with you, Imy.
Chicago. Chicago, this team was really interesting last year. There were stretches in the year where they were really good defensively and absolutely horrible offensively. And a lot of that can be put on their coach. This team has some guys, like they should be able to score okay. It's not like you're expecting them to be the best offense in the league. I just think they could be at least like mid, somewhere in the middle, right? I mean, they have Zach LaVine, who's an elite scorer, high efficiency. Lauri Markkanen, who I just think they haven't been using him correctly. Jim Boylan had a quote where, "If you want the ball, grab more rebounds." Like, what? That's not how getting a young player into a rhythm like works. You got to get him in a rhythm so he can get into the flow of the game. I mean, obviously, you wouldn't want that out of a player. You would want them to get into the flow of the game, even whether they're involved or not. But for a young player like Lauri Markkanen, you gotta make those accommodations. That's just how it is. But that's another conversation for another day. They hired Billy Donovan. I don't know how I feel about that hiring. I think it's an okay hire. He did a really good job with the Thunder last year, so I think that's what their thought process was. He's maybe better with young players than he is with veteran players. Maybe that's where they were going with it. And then my favorite player on this team is Wendell Carter Jr. When he's healthy, he's a top tier center. What he can do defensively, his playmaking ability, his versatility, it's up there with any center in the league.
Do you want to go, Hemanth?
Oh yeah. So I felt like with
Where to put him
Chicago,
up there, I'd probably put Denny Avila, I guess.
well, I think with the Bulls, they should still build around Lauri Markkanen.
Right.
And I think, like, personally for me, I think the most NBA ready player is probably Obi Toppin. He's played 3 seasons with Dayton, yeah, 3 seasons with Dayton, and he might not get the same shine as like the younger players because he's 22 right now. So I feel like he might not be like a top 3 pick. So I feel like the Bulls should be able to snag him at the 4th slot. And he brings it. Obviously, he brings a defensive presence, and they already have a good backcourt, and or they already have good wings in Zach LaVine and Kobe White. I think they just need to upgrade at the center spot.
For the Bulls, for me, I like a guy like Denny Avita, however you say his name. I think he fits really well with this roster. Um, Again, like Emmy was saying, Lowry Marketing is more of like a pure shooter, perimeter type scorer as of right now. And a guy like Wendell Carter, who I also really like, is more of a screen setter, dribble handoff guy, make the reads, score in the paint type player. I think they could use another forward type player with versatility that can handle some of the secondary ball handling responsibilities, and that's what Avita is. He could play some 3, handle secondary ball handler responsibilities. I like his fit next to Kobe White. Obviously, he's a really good playmaker coming from Europe, Israel, I believe. However, they say his jumper needs some work, but you can obviously work on that. He has good form, but it's just kind of an inconsistent situation there with him. But I really like the fit in terms of like how he would fit in to this starting lineup, because Marketing is really pretty much a spot up 3-point shooter as of right now. Carter is more of a defensive screen setter, rim runner type guy. And obviously, Kobe White is just a scorer that can score off the dribble and create plays for his teammates. So I really like Avita. Take some of the load off of Kobe White. I really like his fit here in Chicago.
Right, I agree. At that 3 spot, right now they have Otto Porter Jr., but I don't think he is part of the long-term plans for this team. I think you got to go ahead and make a move to replace him with a younger guy with more potential.
Yeah, you've got with a team like Chicago, even though they have some good pieces in place, you're not looking to win next year. You're looking to have these players develop for 3 to 4 years down the road. And 3 to 4 years down the road, like Emmy was saying, Otto Porter probably isn't part of your plans then. You get a young player like Avita and start to develop him. That's what these teams at this spot in the draft should be thinking about. But with that, we'll go ahead and move on to Cleveland. So, Hemanth, I guess we can start with you.
Well, Cleveland has been kind of a disaster for the past 2 years, ever since LeBron left. And I think they have like score first guards in Colin Sexton, Darius Garland. So there's very little ball movement, which is why I think Kevin Love stated many times that that's the reason why he's unhappy with the situation, where you got these point guards and shooting guards that are holding the ball the whole time, and there's just not enough ball movement in the team. So I guess you guys kind of came to a consensus with taking Denny at 4 or for the Chicago Bulls, but I think he'd be a better fit with the Cavs. I think they need that playmaking from him, and he can give them that.
I actually had Obi Toppin going 5 to Cleveland.
I did too.
Okay.
He's a power forward who already has a pretty polished offensive skill set. He's got the jumper. He's got that athleticism, the size. There's questions about his foot speed defensively, but with his athleticism and his build, I think he still has plenty of defensive potential. And you plug him into this Cleveland team, I think for whatever reason they already they traded for Andre Drummond, who knows why. So they have Kevin Love and Andre Drummond. I think you put him in off the bench for a couple of years, develop him behind Kevin Love. Kevin Love leaves, gets traded, whatever happens. You put him in the starting lineup when he's ready to go, and then there you go. I think he can be I think he can give you 15-8. He's solid.
I totally agree. I think Toppin's the pick here. If you watch a lot of college basketball like myself, Toppin was the front runner for Player of the Year up until the season just halted due to coronavirus. But he was one of the front runners for Player of the Year, putting up 20 points per game, 8 rebounds on 67% from the field, and a 40% 3-point percentage. So pretty impressive all-around type player here that you're getting with Toppin, with elite level athleticism. This guy can jump with the best of them. If you watched him at Dayton, he's a high flyer. I guess that's why he played for the Dayton. Aren't they called the Flyers?
Yeah, Flyers.
Just sort of worked out that way. They're getting. I think you get an elite level screen and roll big who can also pop, shoot the three. Will continue to develop in that area. I think you gotta get rid of one of the two bigs. I think Kevin Love has a lot more value than Andre Drummond. So you get rid of him. You get more youth, plug in more youth with Toppin, and you pair him with maybe Drummond or another pick, another prospect. I don't think you go guard here. You've gone guard the past 2 drafts, Sexton and Garland. You don't need to overload at that position. You got to go with a big, and the perfect one is Toppin because he can do a little bit of everything. So,
all right. I think that'll be it on Cleveland. I really don't like talking about Cleveland if I'm being completely honest. I mean, what are they trying to do this year? Are they trying to make the playoffs? Like, what is this? What is this team?
I feel like they'll have a lottery pick next season too. I don't know.
This team really get like 30 rebounds per game between 2 players, Kevin Love and Andre Drummond. But yeah, moving along here, we got Atlanta at 6. Atlanta, man, they going into last year, you had some people picking them to make the playoffs. Obviously, that didn't work out. You had the John Collins suspension. That hurt a little bit. What the heck? There's something going on in the hallway right there. Sorry. Anyway, you had the John Collins suspension, and that hurt their team a little bit, hurt their mojo to start the year. I think you got to go Onyeka Okongwu, center. Either that or you make that move to move up and try and get Wiseman, maybe. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on this. I think there's a lot of directions they could go because John Collins is not untouchable. Remember, he's eligible. He's looking to get that big contract after this year. So whether they're willing to do that is going to be really interesting. And also, I don't trust Clint Capella. He's been injured the last couple of years. And since he got that big contract, he hasn't been playing. He hasn't played nearly as well. So let's hear your
guy that a lot of people who may not watch as much college basketball as I do may not know about or are as high on, I guess, as a lot of people are. But I watched him play a lot in college. He's a superb defender. He might be, what scouts are saying, he might be the best on-ball defender, wing defender in this draft. From Auburn, Isaac Okoro. This is a guy that lots of scouts say that I've been reading could easily go in the top 5 if a team were to be that high on him. But he'll definitely end up going in the top 10. I think Atlanta needs they can score a ton. I mean, Trae Young, we saw it. They could score a lot, but they need that wing defender. They still don't have it. We thought they would get it with DeAndre Hunter or Cam Reddish. I'm not too sure that those guys are the answers. I think they can be in their plans long term, but if you want a high IQ player who maybe isn't developed all the way offensively yet, but can continue to develop in that area, a high IQ player who's going to give you 110% effort all the time, who has played in big games at Auburn, in the NCAA tournament, who's experienced and who may be the best on-ball defender in this draft with high upside, I think he's the perfect fit for Atlanta, even with Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter already there. But I'm curious to know what you think, Hemanth.
I mean, this might be a little unconventional, but like, I feel like Vassell would be a good fit for him from Florida State. He can shoot. Trey, they're obviously going to build around Trae Young for the upcoming years, and Vassell could provide that 3-point shooting, and he can be a great wing defender also. I feel like between him and the greatest defenders on the wing are between him and you mentioned Okoro.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like it's between them, and either way, like that would be a great pick if they go with Okoro or Vassell, I think.
I mean, either one would be great. I think they're sort of similar in the way that they play or that they played in college. I think they played similar roles for their respective teams. Although I think Vassell was a little bit more involved on the offensive end at Florida State just because of the load that he had to carry with that team as opposed to a team like Auburn where Okoro may have not had to carry as much of the load offensively, and that might have hurt some of his offensive development. But, I mean, either player, you're getting pretty much the same players, just one player has a little bit more offensive upside than the other. That's my opinion, but we can move on. If you
I'm gonna follow one before we move on. I want to follow up on the question with you and DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish. Do you think that those two guys are expendable if they were to draft, or one of the two, if they were to draft Okoro? Because obviously the positions are going to overlap.
Like, I didn't hear the full extent of your question. You mean tradable or?
Right. Tradable. Maybe use this trade bait for.
I think
somebody else.
I know it's only been 1 year, but I think so. I think you keep one of them in the fold. I don't know which one that may be. I think Cam Reddish probably has more upside offensively, so maybe you trade Hunter. He's more of like a 3-and-D type guy that I'm very familiar with coming out of UVA. Maybe another team could have more use for him. I think you keep Reddish in the fold because I see more offensive upside in what he can do. And he's not as good of a defender on-ball defender as Hunter, but you're getting, if you draft Okoro or even Vassell from Florida State, you're getting that back. So if you give Hunter away and potentially acquire more assets, I think that would be a good strategy. But that's just my opinion.
Right. Interesting. Okay, so with that, I think we can move on. Detroit at number 7. Ooh, wow. This team, I think very similarly to Charlotte, nobody is safe on this team. You just draft the best player available and maybe even make a move to move up, depending on what kind of assets you're willing to give up to move up. But if you look at this team, they got Luke Kennard, Christian Wood, Those are their main two young guys, and I'm not very high on Luke Kennard. He really struggles defensively.
And
Doesn't have the foot speed to guard guards in the NBA level. So he's limited to what kind of player he can become. And then Christian Wood, I think he can be really solid. I think he can give you 19 and 10 on a year-to-year basis. But you need that star guy. So whoever you pick, it has to be a guy you believe has that star potential.
Hemanth, what do you think?
Well, I think they need a player that, if they were to hang on to Blake Griffin and let go of Derrick Rose, because I really want to see Derrick Rose on a winning team. You know, like the dude's been through too much, and he really. I just want to see him get a championship before he retires. So if they were to trade Derrick Rose to another team, I think Killian Hayes would be a good fit for them to fit the role of what Derrick Rose would do. I think they could have a nice pick and roll action with him and Blake Griffin. And I know he's like he's a left-handed dominant player. So if he just needs to just improve on his right hand, and if he's able to do that, he's got a great step back 3-pointer. So I see a lot of upside in him, and I think he'd be a good fit for the Pistons going forward.
I've seen a lot of Killian Hayes rumors in this I guess 7 to 10 range, and especially with the Pistons, I think their front office is really high on a guy like him. But for me, if I were the Pistons, I would go with Onyeka Okongwu from USC, the big guy. I think coming into this draft, he's the most polished big man in the draft, including Wiseman, for the reasons we were talking about earlier. And I think he might have a little bit more offensive potential, if I'm being honest with you. He does everything. Excellent finisher, good post scorer, handles the ball like a wing, which is very impressive for a guy his size. Good passer. He does the little things. He hustles. He screens hard. He rebounds. He makes clutch plays. I didn't watch a whole lot of Pac-12 basketball, but I've seen the guy's highlights. I think you get a guy like him in the middle, excellent pick and roll defender, a guy who's maybe a little bit better out on the wing guarding wing players than maybe a James Wiseman is. I think you get him in here now and develop him for the future, and he could turn into a star. He could be the guy that comes out of this draft being the steal or like the pick of the draft. That's how much potential he has. But as Imy mentioned, I mean, with Detroit, you're picking the best player available, and it's up to their front office to determine who that is. But for me, given what we've already decided, I think you go with Okongwu. So
I look at a guy like Tyrese Halliburton. I think he would be a pretty good fit on this team. 6'5", good frame. Needs to bulk up a little bit still, but he has the right skill set that would fit well on this team. Obviously, they need a point guard for the future. Derrick Rose, he's not that guy. He's aging, and I think he'd be a really good fit. And it's for the same reasons that Killian Hayes would.
Do we want to talk about the Knicks, or do we just want to go? Do we just want to move on?
We could talk about the Knicks. Well, for me, like,
all right, we'll do it, but make it quick.
Yeah, well, we don't discriminate on this podcast. Knicks fans will appease you for now.
Well, I feel like I know Imy mentioned Halliburton for the Pistons as a potential pick, but I think Halliburton would be a good fit for the New York Knicks. RJ Barrett's going to be their franchise player. So, and he carries a huge amount of the offensive load. So, Halliburton's a great 3-point shooter. He is a bit skinny, so he needs to get in the weight room and fill out his frame. But I think he could lessen the offensive burden for RJ Barrett and hopefully get the Knicks a few more wins going into the next season.
Lord knows they need it.
Yeah, I had Halliburton going here. A guy I watched a lot in person. Of course, Big 12 basketball. Halliburton, he's been the staple there in Ames for a couple years now. He's a genius playmaker. As you guys mentioned, he needs to get a little stronger, but I'm assuming that won't be a problem. You could go a lot of ways. I mean, for me, Hayes is available. You could go with him. There are a ton of players you could go with if you're the Knicks. I don't think. I mean, you're just trying at this point. You're just trying to build around RJ Barrett. So acquire as many assets as you can, and just get as many young players as you can, and go from there. I have nothing else to say.
This team, I mean, look at this team. Like, there's literally needs to be one priority for this off season for the Knicks: shooting, and more shooting. look at this team. All right, they have Julius Randle. They've got Taj Gibson. They've got they've got Kevin. A ton of guys that just struggle to shoot the ball. So the name of the game is putting the ball in the basket. If your guys can't shoot, there's no way you're going to get to the basket. Everybody's going to be sagging off and going to be helping. So you're immediately making scorer way harder than it needs to be because the spacing is just not there.
I don't know what they were trying to do by getting a bunch of players who all play the same position and all basically have the same skill sets. And players that don't really at all fit their timeline for what they're trying to. I have no idea, and that's why you never know what they're gonna do up there in New York. I mean,
yeah. To be honest, I think they have a better chance of getting a good player at the Clip pick than they would at this pick.
I mean, wouldn't be surprised, but I think that's gonna do it for our draft coverage. For this episode, at least. We'll have more in the future, I guess, since the draft isn't until the week before Thanksgiving. But with that, we're going to move on to the meat and bones of this podcast with our NBA, I don't know what you want to call this, NBA all-time starting five fantasy draft, something along those lines.
Yeah, historical draft.
Yeah, I don't think we determined the order, so I don't know what order we're going to go in or if it's going to be a snake format. So the third pick gets third and fourth pick and just keeps going like that. But basically the name of the game is you can go from any era that you want and you're trying to draft the best starting five that you can. And I guess we'll do something similar. We'll post our teams on Twitter and we'll let the people vote for who has the best team maybe. But we'll discuss that afterwards. But how do you want to determine the draft order? That's what we need to figure out first before we can.
Let's let Hemanth go first. He's the guest.
He's the guest.
Okay.
We can go from there.
Okay. Well, I'm a big LeBron fan, but as much as I'd want to pick LeBron, I got to go with the greatest player of all time. LeBron's the second greatest player of all time to me, but got to go with Michael Jordan. Can't go wrong with that. So that's going to be my first pick.
All right. Hemanth, who do you want to go second? Or should we do like a live rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. A virtual rock, paper, scissors.
Okay.
You guys got to blurt out what you got at the same time, though.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, or you could do it like that, I guess.
All right. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
that was late.
That was so late.
That was late. Go on, shoot.
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay. Rock, paper,
How about this?
Okay. How about you can have the second
Wait.
pick.
Okay. How about this? I try to think of a number between 1 to 10, right?
There you go.
Whoever gets closer,
That's a good
right?
way. Right.
All right, so whoever gets closer to that. Okay, so between 1 to 10, I already got the number.
Okay. 8.
7.
8 was the exact number, so
Damn it.
Michael gets to go first.
What? How? Okay. All right. Michael will get the second pick here.
Okay. Are we gonna do snake though? Is it a snake or is it just gonna
Yeah, it'll be snakes. I'll have 2 picks
okay.
right after you.
That's kind of enviable there.
I guess I have to go with LeBron. Yeah, go with LeBron. Easy pick. Second best player of all time.
I can get behind that. I'm going to pick Magic Johnson, point guard, Los Angeles Lakers. 6'9", can guard. We already know who he is. I think I'm going to pick up a center.
Oh no!
In the middle. I might surprise you though. I'm going to pick up Hakeem Olajuwon.
Okay. Yeah, that's a solid pick. He's very underrated.
Right. I was between him, Shaq, and Tim Duncan, and you can't go wrong with all of them. But I wanted Hakeem, just his amazing ability defensively, and just like scoring, touch, every post move in the book.
Okay.
That's good. That's solid.
I think
All right.
I gotta go with my guy, Tim Duncan.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Stalwart.
Shaq and Kobe are still available.
So, you guys know he'll instill that winning culture that he had in San Antonio. 15-time all-defensive team.
That's kind of ironic that you picked Tim Duncan with LeBron. So, like, considering their rivalry, sort of.
Interesting.
I guess so, but do I really have to explain with Tim Duncan?
No, that's a great pick.
No, I know.
Yeah, well, I can't believe this player's still up there. When Emmy said center, I got kind of nervous that I was going to take my pick, but luckily he didn't. I'm going with Kareem. Skyhook. I still believe that's the most unguardable shot, even to this day. And he's going to skyhook. So I know Hakeem is a great defensive presence, and he can block shots. He has great lateral movement, but I think he's going to have a hard time guarding Kareem, though.
Okay. So I already have Hakeem and Magic Johnson. So I'm gonna pick Kevin Durant. I want a guy he's 6'11", all the scoring touch in the book, a solid defender, and he's versatile. So in terms of these all-time lineups, he can guard 1 through 4, and I can feel comfortable with that. So having that versatility, I think that's really valuable. So do I go again or?
Wait, so
I think it might be.
Is it me?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I've drafted 3 people so far. I think both of you have both only drafted.
I have 2. He has 2.
Right. So then it's Michael, then you.
All right. I need a guard. So I'm thinking about all right. I think I'm going to draft a point guard. And I think I got to have some shooting, and there's no better way to find that than with Stephen Curry.
I knew it.
Mm,
I got a feeling that you were going to take.
Good pick. Good pick. Really good pick. All right. Hemanth, who are we going with here? First things first, recap your team
All right, so far I got Michael Jordan. I got Kareem at my center spot.
Okay.
This might be surprising, but I don't know if you know Emmy, but my favorite player of all time is still on the board.
Right.
And he is the second greatest small forward of all time. I know LeBron just passed him up, but it's got to be Larry Legend. So crafty with the ball, versatile. He's an underrated defender. Can rebound the ball, can pass the ball. I think he's a great compliment to Michael Jordan and Kareem. So
yeah,
it's gonna be my pick.
Those are three fiery competitors. Talking about that era, you can't find three guys that are gonna want it more.
Exactly.
Those three.
They're gonna be in Steph Curry's ear and well, they're gonna be in Steph Curry's ear and Hakeem's ear the whole time. So,
But you just made a mistake. All right. You left me to draft Kobe Bean Bryant, a no-brainer. So now I have
Kobe, I already have Michael Jordan,
Kevin Durant, and Hakeem Olajuwon. So, I mean, can't go wrong with that. I'm feeling good about my team.
Okay.
All right. So let's recap the teams real quick. So, Emmy, you have – say your team.
Okay, yeah. Kobe Bryant,
okay.
Kevin Durant,
okay.
Hakeem Olajuwon, and Magic Johnson.
Okay. Hemanth?
I got Michael Jordan, Larry Legend, and Kareem.
Okay, and I have Steph, LeBron, and Tim Duncan.
Your team is very modern, gotta say, Michael.
I'm picking a very modern team, so maybe I want to go a little bit old school here. Do I play LeBron at the 3 and Duncan at the 4, or do I move Duncan to center and play LeBron at the 4? That's what I'm really struggling with here. But I think I definitely need another wing. So I'm gonna go. Okay, Jordan and Bryant are off the board. I need a shooting guard. Name some shooting guards.
Dwayne Wade.
The Flash. Who else? Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
Jerry West. Oh, that's.
I guess James Harden. I know he's a current player, but James Harden too.
Harden as well.
I don't want. Right. I think I'm gonna go.
George Harden as well. Another
Clyde Drexler. He said Clyde Drexler.
Ooh, that's a good pick right there. I like that pick.
Clyde Drexler. I like it.
I did not expect that, but that's a good pick, though.
That's a really, really good pick.
I'm sounding like Giannis by saying, like, that's a good pick with everyone. Like,
every time LeBron picks, because he knew his picks were worse than – yeah. Yep.
Hey, that's not the case with my draft, though. My draft is better.
Yeah,
we'll get into the matchups between the teams afterwards.
All right. So is it me right now? Right?
Yeah, it's all you.
This is gonna be a surprising pick. I feel like I still have my point guard spot and my power forward spot to fill. I'm gonna fill my point guard slot with John Stockton. John Stockton's gonna be my pick. He's a great defensive presence. My team is very good defensively, and he's a great shooter. Passes the ball very well. I mean, him and Larry Bird are going to be the two main passers on the team. I already know Michael Jordan and Kareem have the scoring down, so I think my team is well balanced right now.
Right.
And very, very mentally sound players, gotta say.
Right. I think you go again here, if I'm not mistaken. For Snake.
I go again. Okay.
Right.
Okay. With power forward, this guy is my favorite guy on inside the NBA. I mean, hands down.
Okay.
Got to go with the round mound and rebound, Charles Barkley. It's gonna be my power forward.
Okay. Solid pick. Solid pick. I like that. So your team locked in. Who you got?
Oh, me? I got John Stockton. I got John Stockton. I got Michael Jordan. I got Larry Legend. I got Charles Barkley, and I got Kareem. My top five. We're starting five.
A lot of old school players in that lineup. I like it. So I'm on my last pick here. I already have Magic Johnson, Kevin Durant, Kobe Bryant, and Hakeem Olajuwon. So I need a power forward. Either I can pick up a power forward or I can slide Kevin Durant down to the floor and pick up a small forward. But I think I'm just going to get a power forward here. I have a guy in mind. I'm going to get Kevin Garnett.
Wow, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it was between him and Dirk, and I chose Garnett just simply because of his defensive versatility. And in his prime, he was a walking triple-double. A lot of people forget he'd have playoff games where he was close to quadruple doubles. He was that dominant.
People forget his MVP season. But
right.
Definitely.
Exactly.
Okay. So I guess that leaves it to me with the last pick. I need a center now. I have Curry, Drexler, James, and Duncan. I think I got to go with Wilt Chamberlain.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a good pick. Can't go wrong with Wilt. Okay. So if we were to if these teams were to face each other, all right, let's start with my team versus Hemanth's team. I'm pretty sure the matchups would end up being Magic Johnson on John Stockton,
mm-hmm.
Kobe on Jordan,
mm-hmm.
Kevin Durant on Larry Bird, Kevin Garnett on Charles Barkley, and then Hakeem on Kareem.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy moly.
Holy moly.
Every single matchup is just blockbuster. I don't really know whose team is better. We're gonna put a poll up on Twitter later, and we're gonna have y'all, the viewers, vote on whose team you thought was the best. But for Michael's team, you had for point guard. Which point guard did you pick?
Oh, Curry. Yeah, Curry. Yeah.
Right. Curry, Drexler,
LeBron.
Curry, Drexler, LeBron, Tim Duncan, and Wilt. Yep. So Curry on John Stockton, Drexler on Michael Jordan. We've seen that matchup.
We see how that went.
We've seen that before. But Drexler, I mean, he got his rings as well. He got his. Small forward, you have
LeBron versus Larry. That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Okay. A lot of people are still in between on who they got as the better player. Obviously, LeBron has the longevity, and to me, that's the difference. I think Larry having such a short career the way he did, it really brings him down a little bit because at the end of the day, the best ability is availability. And with his skill set, it's a shame. I think with the skill set, if his body was able to hold up, I think he would have been an effective player, maybe even into the early 2000s.
He had a great 8-year stretch. I mean, he won over the course of just those 8 years. He won 3 MVPs and 3 championships. So, that's great. He had a great short-term success.
Right. Exactly. Wow. Okay. I think that went really well. Those are some really good teams. But for that, we're going to move on, and we're going to move into this game I have for y'all. We're going to play Guess Who. I've picked 5 NBA players from the 2000s on for y'all to figure out who they are. You're going to have 5 questions, a max of 5 questions each. First person to guess will get a point. Person with the most points at the end wins. Let's get started here. So the first player is a power forward and is retired.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Hemanth, you want the first question?
Sure.
All right.
What conference did they play for?
Both.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Early. Okay. So through his prime,
Yeah.
he played in the Western Conference for 2 different teams, and then after that, he bounced around a little bit.
Did he win a championship?
Yes.
Okay.
So far, information you'll have: power forward, played in both conferences, and has won a championship.
Okay.
All right, your turn.
Was he an all-star?
Yes. He was an all-star 4 or 5 times, I believe. Maybe more than that. I think it was 6 or 7.
Okay.
But he is widely considered a future Hall of Famer. It's debatable, but I think most would agree he's a Hall of Famer. Considering basketball Hall of Fame. But yeah, you go ahead, Michael.
Was he how do I word this question? Was he a good 3-point shooter, or could he not shoot at all?
He made his money in the mid-range.
I want to guess.
All right, go ahead.
I'm thinking Pau Gasol.
Yeah, you're right. All
Okay,
right,
let's go.
Gets a point. Hemanth gets a point. All right. On to the next player now. Point guard. He was drafted in the 1998 draft, I believe. He bounced around for a bunch of different teams, but he was drafted by the Celtics and found his stride a little bit later on. Let me double check that draft that he was drafted in. I believe it was 1998, but I need to double check that. But you can go ahead and make your first guess.
Well, Michael, you can take the question because I went first last time.
Okay. So point guard. You said point guard who was drafted in 98 and found his stride a little later on. So we know was he an all-star, or has he made an all-star team?
Yes.
Okay. Oh. Okay. I guess I'm gonna ask the question: Did he win a championship?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Never mind. I was still not ready to guess yet.
All righty. He played a little bit of shooting guard in his career as well. That might help a little bit. But for most of his career, he did play point guard. His career averages 15 points per game, 5 assists. But in his prime years, he was considered clutch.
Trying to think here. All defensive team possibly, or I don't know what to ask.
Yeah. 3 all-defensive teams.
Okay. So good
Three defensive teams.
Was he an All NBA player?
Yes. 3-time All-NBA.
First team, or I don't know if this is a second question, but like it might be. But was he? Which All NBA team was he on?
Well, right here it just says 3-time All-NBA.
Okay.
I would assume second team, if I'm being completely honest. For this type of player, I would assume second team. All right, I'll give you one more hint. He finished his career and is now he now works for ESPN.
ESPN.
Oh, I'll take a guess.
All right, go ahead.
Is it Chauncey Billups?
Yep, it's Chauncey Billups,
Okay.
Mr. Big Shot.
I didn't know that he was drafted by the Celtics, so I was kind of thrown off with the Celtics.
That was meant to throw you off. Oh, you better not have looked that up.
No, I didn't. Even the averages threw me off too. I'm like 15 and 5, like.
Yeah, his later years brought down his averages a ton, as well as his early years as well. He was considered a bust for the first few years of his career until he went to Detroit and he found his place in the league, and that's where it all took off for him. So now for the third player, this player, point guard. His main years are in the Eastern Conference. He has a really cool nickname, and he had a scandal that basically ended his career. So, and he played in.
Oh, I'm gonna guess.
Oh crap! Did I give too much away? Crap. Okay. I'm gonna let Michael have his chance to guess because I don't want you to run away with this. Michael, you gotta guess. You got one shot. I think Hemanth knows this. I think I gave too much away with the hint.
Okay, so say the hints again.
Okay. So, point guard, played in the 2000s era, and he had a scandal that pretty much ended his career. And he has a cool nickname. All right.
Oh no.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. I guess you.
Agent Zero, Gilbert Arenas.
Yep. Gilbert Arenas. No chill, Gil. Yep. I mean.
You know how I remember that? Like I literally saw a YouTube video. It was like last week about his scandal, like bringing a gun into the locker room. That's how I remember that.
Yeah, that as well as knee injuries.
Yeah,
pretty much for the end of his career. It's a bit of a shame. He had a pretty short prime, but moving along here, the next player is a center. He is currently playing, and he is a shoot. I don't know if I should say this. I don't want to say it because that'll give too much away. I'm just gonna leave it at he's a center and he's a current player. He's a starter.
Okay.
Go ahead and ask your questions. Michael, you go first.
Is he under the age of 25? Is he a young player?
Yes. I believe he's still under 25. I believe he's 23 or 24. All right.
Has he been an All-Star yet?
No, he has not.
Okay.
All right.
Did we see him in the playoffs?
Yes. He's been in the playoffs, I believe, every year except for one in his career. And he spent all those years on the same team.
Okay. Which conference does he play in?
He plays in the Eastern Conference.
Eastern Conference. I'm thinking of all the teams, going through the list of teams.
Right. 23 years old.
Oh, I want to guess.
Ooh, okay.
Or wait. Actually, no. Never mind.
Okay, not gonna guess it. Okay. All right, Michael.
So he's a center, correct?
Right, he is a center. Solid numbers throughout his career. His career averages are 12.7 points, 6.5 rebounds, 48% from the field, and 35% from three.
Okay. He was a starter?
Yes, he is a starter.
Okay. And he's relatively young.
Right, he's young.
All right. Let me go through the teams one more time. Hemanth, you can ask some more questions. I gotta think about this for a minute.
Okay. Well,
You can ask like what division. You could ask like.
I have a player in mind, but
Okay.
this question is to confirm whether that's the player or not.
Okay.
All right. So, did the team that he play on make the finals recently?
No.
Okay. So, yeah, I figured it wasn't him, but you just got to get that out of the way.
Right. I think I know who you were thinking of.
Yeah.
Not him. All right, Michael, you have any guesses? You got to make a comeback here. You're down 2-0, I believe. 3-0. 3-0.
Yeah.
Wow, he's about to get swept, bro.
No, he's not. He's not. No, he's not. Like I literally have no clue right now. Like once you removed that player that I was thinking of out of the way.
I think you're gonna be
Jared
irritated once I say it because it's not too hard. He's been in some trade rumors the last couple years because this specific team has a few good players in the front court. So
Jared Allen for the Nets?
nope.
That was a good guess though.
Good guess though. Yeah, that was a good guess. You're on the right track though. You're actually really close.
Okay. Because I know he's relatively young. Demonis Sabonis?
Nope.
Miles
You're
Turner?
really close. Miles Turner.
Oh.
Miles Turner.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed it.
Yeah, it was Miles Turner. And,
Damn, he played at Texas. Oh,
yeah. I was.
Yeah.
Once you said Jared Allen, I was like, ooh, he's close now. Those are two guys that played center at Texas, and I know once you get on that streak, it's pretty easy to get on that right track. So, one last player here, also a current player, comes off the bench most games, but is a integral part of his team. He's a shooting guard. And okay, I'm not gonna say.
I want to guess.
Already, okay, yeah.
Okay. Is it Lou Williams?
No,
Okay.
Has he been awarded Sixth Man of the Year?
no.
No.
He comes off the bench most games. There are a few where he will be placed in the starting lineup because of matchups, and he's a really good matchup against some teams.
Did we see him in the playoffs?
Yes, he did.
Is he a forward?
No, he's a point guard / shooting guard.
You said that.
Is it Eric Bledsoe?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good guess though. You could ask me what conference he's in, what country.
What conference is he in?
The East.
Okay.
Okay, so what we know so far, Eastern Conference, played in the playoffs, hasn't won a Sixth Man of the Year, and I think that's all we know so far.
Okay.
Were they was the team a top 4 seed?
Yes. Ooh, that was a good question. You narrowed it down a lot right there. All right.
I want to guess.
Okay.
Is it Fred Van Wheat?
No, it's not Fred VanVleet. That is you're getting closer. You're getting very close.
Norman Powell?
Nope.
Is it OG Anunoby?
No.
I know he's not a point guard, but like...
No, the Raptors. There's 3 other teams.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Y'all, this is I don't want to give you too much. Hint. So just keep asking away. You could ask what college he went to. What was he drafted in the lottery? One thing I can tell you, he was drafted in the 2014 NBA draft. And he has stayed on the same team his entire career. His career averages 9.9 points, 3.5 rebounds, 4 assists, 37% from the field, 31% from 3.
Okay.
I think that field goal percentage should give it away, though.
Comes off the bench.
Right.
Or plays in the Eastern Conference for a top 4 seed.
Right.
Okay.
And has struggled to shoot for most of his career. This past year, he improved his shooting a lot.
Hemanth, any guesses?
I feel like I know what team he's on. I'm trying to think of the roster of that team.
What college?
He went to Oklahoma State.
God, I feel like I should know
this. You definitely should. You definitely should. He was a lottery pick. Oh man.
I feel like I'm blanking right now. Like
he's considered a perennial defensive player of the year candidate.
Oh, I got it. Marcus Smart.
All right, there it is. Marcus Smart.
See, I knew he was on the Celtics. I was just trying to think of the roster the whole time, and I was like, who is it? Who is it?
It's it was a tricky one because they do switch between Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart from time to time,
Yeah.
starting and off the bench. So I tried to make it clear that he switches between starting and off the bench, but I think I confused you a little bit. That's my bad.
No. I think you gave good hints. We weren't able to get it.
That was fun.
That's fun. Sometimes you just can't think.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I just thought it would be a fun thing to do with Hemanth on the pod.
It was fun.
Get a game going. But current NBA stuff. We can transition a little bit here and before we finish it up. Um, what did y'all think of the coaching hires that we've seen in the past few days? We saw Stan Van Gundy go to the New Orleans Pelicans, and we saw Mike Zivizevizeh go to the Pacers. I don't know how to say his last name. he was an assistant coach for the Raptors.
Yes.
Yeah. And Billy Donovan got picked up by the Chicago Bulls.
Steve Nash to the Nets.
Right. Doc Rivers for the 76ers and Tyronn Lue for the Los Angeles Clippers. So let's start with the Clippers. I think that's the most interesting one. What do you think? What adjustments do you think Tyronn Lue could make? What could he bring to this team? What do you think?
I think they need to bring in a point guard. They really need a good point guard because they've been relying. I know Kawhi is a good playmaker. He's been improving on the playmaking side, but they need that true point guard who can get them the ball and they can pass it to Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. That way, he doesn't need to carry much of the burden. You saw it in the playoffs. He was trying to handle the ball. He was trying to do everything that he could to keep the game, to keep his team in it, and he was successful until you know what happened with a 3-1 lead against the Nuggets.
All right.
So
I completely agree with you. Kawhi, to me, he is at his best when he's able to get the ball in his spots and he can take one or two dribbles, rise up, midi, maybe a fader here and there. He is really good in particular parts of the floor, and I think he's able to get to those spots much easier when he isn't the guy taking it up the floor. So if you bring in a point guard who's able to do those post passes, you get it to Kawhi in his spots, get it to Paul George in his spots, and run this offense a little bit. I think that would be extremely beneficial to this team. Maybe get some open looks a little bit more often.
I mean, I don't disagree, but I also just think with the Clippers, come playoff time, it came down to lack of chemistry, and they just went absolutely cold at the wrong time. It's happened in past years with different teams. But I think Tyronn Lue, he brings that experience. He's handled a lot of different types of personalities in his career, as we know, with the Cavaliers and a guy like Kyrie Irving, um, a star like LeBron James, J.R. Smith, all these types of personalities. I think he can come in and kind of balance that locker room. You have guys on this team, Patrick Beverly, Marcus Morris, some of these guys can be hotheads at times. And I think Tyronn Lue can be that calming presence. But I think the main thing is just chemistry with the Clippers. They had a lot of injuries, and if they can stay healthy, I don't think their collapse in the playoffs had a ton. I don't think it should all fall on Doc Rivers, but
Yeah, I agree with you. Tyronn Lue, he just needs to find a way to create a offensive system. This year with the Clippers, Doc Rivers likes to run a freelance style of offense where it's a lot of just the players create, right? But in the playoffs, when it's a lot harder to create open looks, sometimes you just need that go-to play, whether it's a floppy, somebody coming around the off-ball screen, uh, somebody getting in the post, something like that, getting somebody open looks. The little things like that, it can help get your guys into rhythm and get them going. You saw Paul George; he wasn't able to get into the rhythm in the last few games of Nugget series. I think a lot of that was that he was either shooting threes or layups. Like there wasn't anything in between. He was when he was getting the ball, he was just looking to score. He's like, I'm not going to get the ball that often. I got to look to score now. And the defense read that and keyed in. So
with Tyron coming in, obviously he understands how the Clippers operate. He's been there that season. He understands that. Understands Kawhi Leonard's situation with load management and all that. So he does bring a sense of familiarity for the Clippers. I think it all comes down to really they can't get cocky in the playoffs. I think that's what it wasn't. It wasn't Kawhi that was kind of arrogant, or it wasn't Paul George that were arrogant. It was mostly like Marcus Morris and Pat Beverly. They thought they had it in the bag. They were up 3-1. Like, we only need one more game. So kind of having a sense of urgency in closeout games and just being complacent, knowing that, even though our team is up, we still got to close this one out. We don't know how much of a resilient team that the team that we're facing can be. Some teams played their best games when their back is down against the wall, and the Nuggets are one of those teams, and they underestimated them. So,
right,
they gotta be more complacent with games.
More complacent, more determined. I think is what you meant.
Yeah.
I got what you were going with.
Or I guess don't be complacent. I guess that's
right.
That's the right wording. My bad. Yeah, that's
the Clippers, they're still in a good place as an organization, but this year it's going to be harder than the last. This year they're going to have all of the pressure in the world on their shoulders. Like, this is it. This is the end for this team if we don't win right now, because Kawhi and Paul George, they could just pack their bags and walk right out the door. And then if you're the Clippers, you're right back to rebuilding again. So it's just all about getting that championship no matter what. So, and obviously they can't trade their pick next year because they traded this year's pick already. And I don't even think they have their pick next year, actually, because they traded it in the Paul George pick trade. But that's not relevant. But
their future sucks.
I'm going off topic yet, but I'll get the point.
Yeah, they're a team that their championship window resides in the next 3 to 5 years. They got to win now.
If they're able to keep Paul George and Kawhi for the upcoming season.
But assuming they will, I don't think Kawhi's going anywhere, because when he left San Antonio, he wanted to go to LA. That's where he wanted to go in the first place. It's just he didn't have any leverage, and they shipped him off to Toronto. And so now that he's gotten to actually go to LA, I think he's going to stay there.
Yeah.
No matter what happens. The question is with Paul George, is he going to be a commitment?
Right. Imagine if Kawhi goes to the Lakers. Imagine.
I don't think he'd do it.
Yeah,
honestly, I mean, there's no way he wouldn't get enough touches. First of all, right? You got LeBron, and then you got AD, and he wouldn't. be that type of person to just be a
And
spot up shooter.
wouldn't that kind of hurt his legacy?
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
That was just something that popped in my head.
Yeah.
Thought it was a fun.
I can't believe that like during his off season, during his 2019 off season, people actually thought that he would go to the Lakers.
Yeah, I didn't believe that for a second.
It's like they already have AD and LeBron. Like, what role is he gonna play?
Right.
But if you guys remember, it was also a contingency that he had when he signed with the Clippers. He said, "I'll come, but you gotta go get Paul George." So are they on the same page? Are they going to stay together for the, I guess, near future, the next 3 to 5 years, where they're in the best position to win a championship? I think so, but you never know. You never know.
Right. Moving along. I don't know how many of these coaching hires y'all wanted to cover because we didn't have this in our pre-podcast planning. But
Let's cover the Nets. That's interesting with Steve Nash coming in.
yeah. Well, let's cover the Nets and then we'll wrap this up. Obviously, the Brooklyn Nets. They have Kyrie. They have Kevin Durant coming back. They hired Steve Nash as their head coach. This threw me off guard completely. And there was also reports that he was asking Dirk to be a part of his staff as well. So they're getting the whole gang back together. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think like Amy, for you as a as a Mavs fan and as a fan of the Mavs for a long time, it would definitely hurt you if Dirk was the one that was on the staff of the Nets. I don't think I can't see it. I can't see Dirk being on the staff of the Nets. I think he'd either be assistant coach to the Mavs or he'd still be a part of the Mavs organization. I don't think he'd join the Nets.
He turned it down for that reason, and that's why he wanted to stay in Dallas and stay loyal to the soil. But anyway, that's not relevant. Let's talk about the Nets. All right, so they possibly could get a third star. I don't know what kind of trade pieces they're willing to give up. They have Karis LeVert, a guy that I think if you put him on a team like, say, the Wizards, I think he could give you 20 a game. But what kind of efficiency are you getting, and what is he giving you on a nightly basis? We all know that he can put the ball in the bucket, but there's so much more to basketball than that, and he's got to be able to be consistent. He played pretty solid in the bubble, but if he wants to give the Nets the best possible trade package with him in it, he's got to be a little bit more consistent.
We kind of saw. Oh, okay. Go on, Michael.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, in terms of Nash, I guess I like it because of his relationship that he apparently has with Kevin Durant. And you got to be able to have those relationships to make the locker room work. We don't know what Kyrie is, like, great player on the court, but on a day-to-day basis, he's a different player, it seems, mentally. So I don't know I think he'll be fine. He's got to stay healthy. That's another problem with Kyrie. But in terms of, like, trade pieces, I think you could acquire a third star. A guy like, I don't know if they want to keep Joe Harris in that rotation. I think he's a very valuable piece, 3-point shooter who can create his own. And obviously a guy like Karis LeVert, I don't know if they're willing to go to that extent, but acquiring a third star would help, but I don't know if they really need it. I think this team, as assembled as is, with Kyrie and KD, could do it. The biggest questions are Kyrie's health, KD's health, But I think even like an 80% Kevin Durant is still better, still top 10 player in the league, as crazy as that sounds. And I don't know. I'm all over the place in this rant, but you kind of get where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I
So,
get you.
like
Uh,
thus far, oh, okay. So like so far, with so Kyrie and Kevin Durant, they had the podcast recently, and I'm sure you two remember they had some comments. You know, it wasn't really like it wasn't directed, or it wasn't really that wasn't their intention to say what they said. I feel like people got caught up in the interpretation, but they said that we don't really like they don't really need a coach in a sense that because what they need is sort of like a representative for them, right? Somebody that could communicate with the players as a player, the person that's gone through the experiences. But people kind of twisted that, turned it around a little bit when they said that. I think they were talking about how they already have the experience, right? Kyrie's been to the finals multiple times, and he's won a championship. Kevin obviously has been to the finals, won multiple championships. So they're just talking about how they have the IQ to perform. They need a coach that could connect with the players, and Steve Nash fills that role. So far, Kyrie has come out saying that Steve Nash is someone that he's kind of looked up to during his playing career, right? Because Steve Nash retired in 2013, right? 2013, I think. So Kyrie's played against him for like in the tailwind of Steve Nash's career, so he has a tremendous respect for him. Both players have a tremendous respect for Steve Nash. So I think it's a good move by the Nets because they're both talented players. They just need a coach that can manage that talent.
right. It's extremely risky, but I like it. It's just a lot of times you see in the NBA, it's the same carousel of names, and then every once in a while you get that assistant coach that moves up to some other team and becomes successful. Um, but you see like the Dave Yeagers of the world, Sam Van Gundy's, guys who have already coached in this league. But the Nets decided to go outside the box here. They already have a guy on their staff that they had as the interim head coach, Krishan Vaughn, I believe. I believe that's what his name is. But they trust him. They've already seen him as a head coach. He did an okay job, and I think having him will add what Steve Nash needs to be a good head coach especially in the first few uh, months of the season as a steady hand, like helping him lead the way through the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, the last thing I'll say is like to Haman's point, it's kind of like it kind of reminds me of the NFL. You have coaches, and then you have like more. You have two types of coaches. You have the Belichick's of the world, who are very, I guess, they're very serious.
oh,
Yeah, yeah. And then you have the player coaches, the more motivational, you know, outspoken coaches like the Pete Carrolls of the world or the Mike Tomlins, those guys who are very great motivators. I think that's kind of what the Nets are trying to get at here with Steve Nash. He's a players coach. I think he'll be a good guy for the locker room.
right.
Yeah.
That's
I
kind of
agree.
that's the vibe I'm getting. I think he's a guy who can come in and establish relationships like he already has with Kevin Durant with the players. And when you have the established relationships already in place with your star player, like your star player, everyone else can sort of fall in line. So
Right.
there is risk, like Imy said, but it depends on a lot of factors, as we always say, health, uh, other things. But For now, I'd give it a B. It's a B higher. It's
Right.
solid, but it's not anything like fantastic. I don't know.
We gotta see it to believe it. Put
Right.
it that. Last but not least, um, what do y'all think is the ceiling for this team? Do you think this team will be a true contender assuming they make no moves and they have the team that they have now, plus the player they draft?
In my opinion, I think their ceiling it's a minimum Eastern Conference final. I think they can't make. I feel like you got to set the expectations high for the team, and they have their expectations set high. Also, they believe they can get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and in their mind, Kevin Durant's and Kyrie Irving's mind, they should be making the finals next season. That's their goal, obviously.
Right.
But I think Eastern Conference Finals, they could definitely hit that next season.
Right. I think a lot of it is going to ride on getting Kyrie back to the form he was at.
Right. Granted, they're all healthy. Yeah.
Right. Getting him back to the form he was in Cleveland, because we hadn't seen that Kyrie for a long time. We really haven't. He had that stretch in here in Brooklyn for a little bit where he played extremely well. He had that game where he didn't miss a shot in the first half. That was extremely impressive. So we know he can still do it. But in the playoffs with Boston, he underperformed. So it'll be interesting to see if he can.
I really like
find him.
I really like the combination of Kyrie and Kevin Durant and some of the other players they have, but I'm gonna say no for next year, primarily because one, the top of the East, we saw a lot of teams up there that they're going to have to compete with, the Torontos of the world, Milwaukee, even
Miami.
who will be there again next year in the mix. Boston, all those teams who have playoff pedigree and playoff experience with young talent as well. And number two is the health. I mean, if they're healthy, it could happen, but that's just a wait and see type of thing. I think there are too many good teams now at the top of the Eastern Conference. I don't think it's going to happen for them next year, but I do because they have Kyrie and Kevin Durant, but they actually haven't played together, and that kind of matters as we've seen with what happened to the Clippers. They hadn't played together a whole lot with the entire team, so I think that can be a factor as well. So
I think.
maybe not for
Okay.
next year, but years to come, possibly.
Right.
Well, I think going into next season, Kevin Durant's probably going to have limited minutes to start out, right? Just to get him into the groove of the game. I don't think he's going to play 37, 36, 38 minutes like right out of the gate. I think he might play like 30 minutes starting out, and then he'll get into the ease of things later on. But I don't think they're going to have like an LA Clipper situation where they're going to do like too much load management. I don't really think they're going to do load management with Kevin Durant. I think they might play limited minutes, but I don't think they're going to load manage. So I don't think they're going to have him miss back-to-back games or anything like that.
Right. So yeah, I guess that's gonna do it, guys. Man, thanks for joining the show, dude. That we we've been waiting for a while to get you on. Uh, Thanks for joining the show. It was fun. Yeah.
That's no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. It was a lot of fun getting in some draft discussion. Um, Obviously, our all-time teams will, I guess, post those on the Twitter, so y'all can vote for who drafted the best team. That was a lot of fun. Flowed really smoothly. The guessing game, you got me, but I'll get you next time. And obviously talking about some relevant stuff with the coaching. And I heard a rumor before we go sign off that the NBA, they're having meetings, or they were having meetings today, and I guess in the coming days, about starting the season um, right before Christmas or on Christmas, so that they can play a relatively um, long season. I think they were thinking 72 games and finish up before the Olympics start next summer. I think that's their goal. So that was just something I read today that might interest y'all, but I don't know if you heard that as well. But we got a lot to look forward to. We got free agency, we got the draft, and then before you know it, next season will begin. So we'll keep
Hopefully,
covering.
better year.
Yeah, we'll keep
Overall, a better year next season.
we'll keep covering the NBA. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to have you back again soon, sooner than
Yeah,
later.
for sure.
Yeah, hopefully the world doesn't explode by the time we can get you back on.
Yeah.
But knock on wood. Hopefully we can avoid that. That's gonna do it, y'all. Leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you're watching on YouTube. For those of you listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review. Helps the podcast grow. Also, if you're listening on YouTube, leave a like. I think I already said that. Crap. Okay. Hit the notification bell and join the Noti gang. All right. And that's going to do it. Peace out, y'all.